How you doing today?
I'm good. How are you? I'm better now that I actually have audio. I can hear you.
Cool. That's
So,
always a plus.
how are you?
All right, I'm doing well. I'm doing well. You're
I love the shirt. Sun Studio.
yeah, you're in
Awesome.
Memphis right now,
I'm in
right?
Memphis. I'm
We
in Memphis.
we were there a couple of years ago, and we loved it. I mean,
It's a great
absolutely.
town.
Yeah, it's fantastic, man. The music is everywhere.
It really is. Well, of course, right now it's not really too much, but
Well,
you know,
yeah, yeah.
pandemic going on.
Man, and let's get into that. Let me introduce you first, for everybody
Sure.
watching. I'm here on the 25th of August, 2020, with Zach Bair from the Zach Bair Band. Uh, this is probably the hardest introduction I've ever had to do. Entrepreneur, innovator, inventor, musician, guitar player, singer.
Just a weird guy.
A lot
Just a
of
weird
feathers. A
guy.
lot of feathers in your cap, my friend.
Thanks, man.
Uh, Tell me first, how did you get involved? I mean, when I say entrepreneur, for anybody who doesn't know, you have multiple companies in the entertainment music industry, uh, and that is kind of your forte. Uh,
Yes.
how did you get involved with that initially? And what is your technological background? Where does that savvy come from?
Oh wow. So I have been in the music technology space since about 2002, I would say. Before that, let me preface that with I've been playing music my entire life since I was about 14 or so, probably before that actually. But as I went through my career, I've been involved in technology. I used to do consulting for Fortune 500 companies like Marathon Oil Company and Arco Oil and Gas, and a bunch of different electronic data systems, which became part of Hewlett Packard later. A bunch of technology stuff, and ended up starting a company after I was with American Airlines for a while doing network stuff, and ended up I wrote some software and started a company called Voyance. And Voyance was basically based on the software, and that software would uh, configure network devices automatically. It's kind of a precursor to what's called network configuration management. So I actually started a company with that, and that was kind of what I call crossing over into the dark side, being a startup guy.
Yeah.
And I did that for a while, and then I started another company called MediaTek in 2001. MediaTek was originally going to be a business process reengineering company through the use of technology, which was kind of my specialty. But along the way, I ended up finding this little company had some innovative software that allowed you to do mix and match tracks that you would download from the computer and burn to your, burn to a disk. And I ended up acquiring that company into a MediaTek and developed a piece of software we called NetBurn Secure, which was doing the same thing. Again, this is right before iTunes came out. So you could mix and match the tracks, download to a CD, and the CD would leave nothing on the hard disk. And if you tried to copy the CD, it would not let you. So it was really, really popular with the record labels. Our first big artist was JC Chazet from NSYNC.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, it's early 2000s. I mean, not my cup of tea, but it was great for the software and great for the technology.
Oh, yeah.
And right after that came out, we started getting traction. iTunes came out and obliterated the copy control technology and DRM and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Changed everything. So we had to kind of pivot. And the pivot we made was acquired another little company at the time called DiscLive, of which I am still CEO of that company. It's been through a few mutations since that time. But DiscLive is known as the pioneer in instant live recording, where you can go to the show and walk out with a CD in your hand. And our first, yay, yay! Were you
Zach
at that
Bair's
show?
all over this. I've had this for 10 years and never noticed.
Were you at the show?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I was there. I was
Oh,
there.
that is so awesome.
That's
And
cool, man.
when I got, not to interrupt you, but when I got this, I said, this is the future of music. I'm seeing it and holding it in my hand. I said, when I get to the venue, I'm told that I could have this at the end of the show, and it'll have the show that I'm at.
Yep.
on it. I
Yep.
said, no way.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'd pay any price for that just about. And it was maybe 25 bucks or something like
Yeah,
that.
25 bucks. Yeah.
Yeah. And
Yep.
I thought, sign me up. Who's not going to sign up for that? I mean, you got to be out of your mind. I walk out of the venue with this
Way better than
soundboard,
t-shirt.
perfect recording. As
And there's a great
unbelievable.
story behind that too. That was the first time that we worked with REO, and I digress a little bit. I'll go back to the topic, but I want to tell you the story since you held up that disc.
Yeah.
Um, we did the show, and everything was looking great, whatnot, blah blah blah. And then at the end of the show, the manager comes down to me and he says, "Zach, Kevin wants to talk to you." I'm like, "Oh no," I'm thinking, "Oh great, what's wrong?"
Right.
So I walk back up to to the stage, and Kevin walks up to me and he shakes my hand. He said, "That is the best live recording of REO I've ever heard in my life." And I was like, "Really? Wow!" That floored me coming from a guy like that.
Yep. Yep. And it
Um,
is. It's phenomenal. I had to put it on in the car on the way home just to see that it wasn't an empty disc.
oh
There
yeah.
can't be anything on this.
Well,
So
yeah, yeah.
it,
That's what hooked me. I mean, I love it. I've done this for 17 years now.
and one of my questions to you is, how is this not? I expected every concert I go to after this one, I will have a CD in my hand, because why
Should be.
wouldn't
It
this
should be.
happen? It should be
Yeah.
for sure. And like, I mean, my first show was, pre TV almost. But
I feel
can
you.
can I imagine? I mean, I can't imagine holding a recording of my first concert. And I did that for my nephew. I took him to his first concert. That service was there. He has a CD of his first concert. I
That's
mean, how
awesome.
cool is that?
You can't beat that. You can't beat that. And I would have thought the same thing. Back when we first started doing this, and by the way, the Pixies were our first big run. They were on their comeback tour in 2004,
Hmm.
and we ended up doing those shows, and we were selling 1,000 CDs a night at these little 1,200 seat venues. It was crazy,
Oh yeah.
and I was hooked. I mean, the minute that all this started happening, I got hooked, and that's really kind of how I've made my name in music business, is really kind of continuing to foster this concept. But back in the day when we were doing this, the record labels were terrified because we would conceivably take money away from their revenue from their studio records, things like that. And and we never saw it as competitive. We saw it as complementary, and we still,
Yeah.
it's complementary now. And I mean, obviously, the train of thought has changed a lot since the early days. There's fewer record labels. The labels don't do nearly as much as they used to be able to do in terms of how the business is run because of all the technology improvements. So now, especially in the last several years, where people, they're doing this, at the
Right.
concert, and they're not really paying attention to the show. A lot of artists, I think, are rethinking their desire to do something like this. Whereas they may have been, oh, this is not a perfect recording. I didn't spend, like Rush, for example, would spend 200 grand in one studio session to have that perfect sound. I think a lot of artists are opening their eyes up and seeing that this is kind of the future of music, and that because once the touring comes back, which it will, it's a fairly healthy segment of the music business, and you can capitalize off of doing something you're already doing, which is playing.
Yeah. And that's that. I started thinking, why isn't this happening? Why am I not getting this opportunity with every single show that I go to? And I thought, well, the couple of things, the thing that really hit me was the artist's performance. You have
Yep.
an artist who comes out there, there's some artists are great every time out. But it's rare. Everybody has a bad night, or so I have another one from Kiss. Paul Stanley wasn't at his best that night, so I can see him coming to you and saying, there's no way you're releasing this
Yeah.
to anybody on the planet because I really stunk it up. Was that part of a problem at all?
Well, first of all, I mean, Kiss, they worked with Instant Live, which was our competitor, and they're no longer around anymore. They ended in the mid 2000s sometime. But that's a topic that you have to address with the artist straight out of the gate. In that, look, this is going to be like a live television show.
Mm-hmm.
There are no redos, and besides, you've got people out here doing this anyway, and it's going to be on the internet within 3 minutes after you get off the stage. So if you want to monetize that and actually create a revenue generation as well as a keepsake or something special for your fans, we have a solution to that. And there's some that will never embrace it, that are too concerned about the performances. But in this day and age, your performance is out there.
Yeah, every time. Any show you go to.
Why not make money off of it? We've got our set.fm app, which is the digital version of that, which is really, really super cool.
And I was looking at that, and that's for the not necessarily the KISS or the larger venue thing. It's for the local act kind of, or the smaller act.
Yeah, we used it for Rob Thomas. We've used it for a number of big artists, and we were supposed to go out with Matchbox 20 this summer, and because of COVID, got put off till next year. But the cool thing about the Set FM platform, it is a do-it-yourself platform for the everyday artist to go to their show and upload and record it in a quality format and make that available for sale. And it really works well in tandem with these live streams that you've seen bands doing. We actually have a digital audio workstation plugin that you can use in line while you're doing your streaming so that you can monetize the audio.
Man, it's just cool. It's unbelievable. And your education, now I'm talking to you and I see all these companies and they're just technologically so advanced. I imagine you're going to tell me you have 3 master's degrees in technology and engineering, and what is your education?
I was an English major and a journalism minor. Really? And I was U.S. Air Force for 4 years before that.
Thank you.
And really all the technology stuff I learned along the way, self-taught. 99% of it. Obviously took technology classes and things like that, but right. I found that I had a natural ability for solving problems, and that technology, the thing that did it to me actually is I'll keep a very condensed story, is like right when I first decided that I needed to, go back to school. A friend of mine had given me a Mac Plus in a bag. And you remember how they had the little, right? You remember that way back in the dark ages.
Oh yeah.
I sat in my closet for forever, and then one day I was like, you know what? I wonder if I can do anything with this. And I took it out and plugged it in, and turned it on, and it smiled at me and it bonged, and I was hooked. I was like, yeah, this is, reeled me in. And I ended up getting into doing graphic arts and things like that with it, and I got so good at learning that kind of stuff that I ended up having a little consultancy in East Texas, and we did, advertising, and we did, Apple and Macintosh consulting and things like that. And that's kind of how it kicked off. And it went crazy from there.
Wow. It's an amazing story. Your story is really amazing.
I'm a nerd, man. I'm a nerd, natural born nerd.
Fantastic. It's a beautiful thing, man. It's a beautiful thing. And I want to get to the single, Ordinary Girl. Sure. is so important. Not only is it a great song, but it's an important song. But one more company I want to cover with you is your latest, I believe, Soundster.
Soundster, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and that's giving the artist the royalties that they may not get when their songs are played in businesses and things like that, right?
That's correct. So a lot of artists and writers don't realize that the system that what's called general licensing is when you have a music venue or a bar or restaurant or even a local gym or grocery store, they all have to have what's called a general license in order to be able to play music in a public space. And the general license is controlled by PROs, performing royalty organizations, like ASCAP, BMI, CSAC. And the problem is they've been doing this the same way for 100 years, is they have blanket license agreements which give that business the opportunity to play anything they want in the catalog. But the issue is that it's based on factors that really don't make a lot of sense. For instance, if you have, a 1,500 square foot bar with X number of chairs in it and having karaoke, 2 nights a week or whatever, they have all this convoluted stuff that they figure out they're going to charge you for that blanket license. And 9 times out of 10, it's not fair and it's overpriced, because some places I know don't have any of the above, and they might play one copyrighted song a week, and they're still getting charged a blanket license as if they were, packed with people all the time and blah, blah, blah. The bigger problem, though, is they haven't had any way to track what's actually being played in the venue. And because of this, you have a lot of middle tier artists and publishers and writers that are not compensated, because the way that these PROs operate is there's algorithms and other formulas they use to divvy out this money to the large touring artists, the radio, hit makers and things like this. And there's a big slush fund that, who knows what they do with it. It's kind of a black hole. This, $1 billion in royalties collected per year. It just we don't know where it goes. And so Soundster is hopefully going to be a solution to that. We don't think we're going to change the industry overnight, but what we're at least going to do is we're going to be able to, track the performances in these types of environments, create a report, an auditable report that shows not only what's being played and when it's played, et cetera, but also the PRO affiliation with each of those plays. Right. So that you have 2 powerful tools. As one, you have a tool for the excuse me, for the stakeholder to go back to the PRO and say, hey, my song's been played 50 times in this venue and you haven't paid me. Yeah. That's number one. Number 2, you have a powerful tool for the venue owner that says, hey, I'm only playing 10% of your catalog in my building. Why are you charging me X amount of dollars? We need to renegotiate this. Now, ultimate solution is a pay-for-play situation where the venues are only paying for what's played, and there's an end-to-end transparency so that what's being played, we know that the stakeholder is going to get paid at the end of the day. And that's our ultimate goal of that. Excuse me.
And that makes perfect sense. And especially now, with so many clubs, bars closed, they're not playing anything for anybody. I wonder, are they still paying for that blanket license?
Well, sure they are. And, radio stations have exactly the same problem. And we estimate that many radio stations are charged 20 to 40% more than they should be charged. Now, the silver lining here is that if we can create a feasible model that businesses can afford and that gets the artists paid, we think that bringing that cost down to the businesses will enable a lot more of them to become licensed, and we'll have a net increase in those royalties being collected. The PROs spend 30% of their budget or more on collections. That's 30% of the royalties that are collected. I mean,
wow.
So if we can reduce that cost and increase the number of licensed places, and by the way, it's estimated only 25% of businesses in the US are actually licensed the way they're supposed to be licensed. So 75% of the businesses aren't even licensed. Yeah, so there's revenue on the table. And we want to change that. And that's part of, Soundster is actually part of the umbrella company called Venue, VNUE. And that's it's actually on the stock market. The stock ticker is VNUE as well. Mm-hmm. But we actually are announcing that we're moving into beta testing with this really imminently. And we've got quite a few radio stations and some brick and mortar establishments that are going to be testing it.
That's awesome. Now, your compensation through this is from the venues, the artists, combination?
What's interesting, and here's the really interesting part about it, is nobody has this data right now. It's non-existent. We're going to have the data. That data is going to be valuable, and that's where we're going to make our money from. We don't anticipate charging a business to put a Soundster device in their business. We don't want to add another cost expense. And in fact, stage 2 of what we're doing with Soundster is we want to be able to put money back in their hands. So the device is actually thought I might have one around here somewhere, but it's really cool in that it not only will read the data that's coming in from the venue, but we can also send data back out. In other words, we can send advertisement, we can send audio, we can do all kinds of cool things with it.
Wow.
So eventually we want to be able to, phase 2, we want to be able to have beacon advertising, which means if you're in a geographic space, you're close to a SoundStream unit, and you have an app on your phone that's keyed to that, then you'll get targeted ads sent to whatever apps are keyed to that. That revenue that we bring in from advertising will be shared with the businesses so that we can either offset their licensing costs or possibly even make a little bit of money on top of paying their licensing costs.
Man.
And that's the way it should work. You know,
Yeah,
it should not be not painful for the business, should not be painful for the artist.
Yeah, I mean that's a win-win for everybody, really. Unless you're the guy lining your pockets with that black hole.
It's going to be a challenge. I mean, I hope what happens is that they'll, some of the PROs are going to see the value in having that data and will come to us and want to be transparent. Every other facet of the music business is moving toward transparency, and this is really the last remaining black hole of nobody really knows what's going on, and we want to change that.
That's awesome. That is awesome, and good luck with that for sure.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's great. Let's move on to your musician feathers.
Covering the gamut.
Yeah, this is fantastic. Ordinary Girl, and the EP is coming out on the 1st of September.
Correct.
Single is out now. You got a couple videos out there.
We did.
Very cool. Zach Bair Band, a permanent band, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Fantastic. Now, are you playing locally?
So we played. Well, I'll say locally. We played all over the southeastern U.S. In the last year or so. And just to give you a background, I put the band together a year ago, last January, or maybe a little bit before that, probably maybe a year and a half, 2 years ago. And I did so because I wrote a song, my first single I'd done in a long time, called Rutherford Drive, and put that out, and it started getting traction. So I'm like, you know what, I want to keep this going. Well, I got tied up with business and doing Rob Thomas stuff and all this other, business, and the pandemic hit. And we had played some really nice big stages, some fairs and some things like that across the southeastern U.S. And the pandemic hit, and I'm thinking, wow, I could be next. You don't know who's going to get hit by this thing. Yeah. And I had some of these songs kind of in the can. I was like, you know what, I'm going to go ahead and knock this out and get it done. So started doing daily trips up to, weekend trips up to Nashville, working with a guy by the name of Skid Mills, who has produced Saving Abel and Three Doors Down and, a bunch of other guys like that. And I decided it was time. I needed to knock it out. But yeah, we haven't been able to play locally in quite some time due to COVID, unfortunately.
Yeah, that's too bad. It's hitting everybody for sure.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, everybody's at home or in a studio, getting it done. Where they normally would be playing shows and maybe not be able to get it done.
Exactly.
Now you say you've been playing since you were about 14.
Yeah, seriously. I started playing piano when I was about 4 or 5, and then piddled with it most of my life, and then got more serious about it as I got older. Of course, I played in band, all through high school, trumpet player, again, the nerd in me, and started gravitating toward guitar and rock and roll bands and things like that. And then I was in my high school, I was on the journalism team, and my nickname in high school was Boston because I loved Boston so much. Nice. And the one of my probably the experience that really propelled me to get into music, um, and to really start playing. My journalism teacher offered me the opportunity to go to the Boston concert when they came into town. And I'm not going to tell you what year it was because you're wrong. But we know it was 1979. Okay. I was a young punk. So, but it was really cool that she offered me to do that, to go interview Boston or, go to the show and report on it, take pictures and things like that. And I remember, that the day of the concert, I skipped school altogether. And I remember it was just like Jukebox Hero, man. I remember standing outside the Coliseum listening to them sound check, and somehow or another finagled my way in watching the sound check. And that night, I took some little girl along with me, but we had press seats, which were near the front, but on the side, kind of in the in the stands.
Yeah.
Well, we kept hopping over that little rail and jumping down and running into the front row. And 2 or 3 times they ran us off. And then this lady came up finally and she said, well, I thought we were going to get thrown out. I thought that was it. And she was like, do you want to go to the press conference? I'm like, hell yeah, I want to go to the press conference. Are you kidding? So I got at age, whatever it was, young, I got to interview Brad Delp and Tom Schultz. And
awesome.
And it was just a magical experience. And I think that was probably what really was the driving force in, at least getting me more focused on learning how to play.
Wow, that is great, especially for a journalism student and somebody who's serious about that to actually have that gig is
yeah,
and of course see your favorite band.
Yeah, it was off the chain. Yeah, it was really cool. Yeah.
Do you know how that worked so well for you? Was it your teacher setting that up for you?
I think it was. I mean, well, I don't know if it was her that set up the interview. She certainly got me into the concert, but
right.
I don't think she was there. She was a pretty cool teacher though. I remember she drove some kind of little crappy car, but she knew that I was really into the music, and she got me into that show. She got me into a few other ones too. Heart, Atlanta Rhythm Section. I remember a few other ones.
Nice.
It was cool. Yeah. Boston was the one.
Yeah.
Sammy Hagar opened for him.
Oh man! Wow.
Yeah, it was really cool.
That is awesome. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, too cool. Now, I noticed I'm looking at your catalog and it's 2018, probably the first thing you have with, just before.
Recent,
yeah. Yeah. That's a lot of years without making any music outright, recorded music.
Right.
Is that because of the businesses and your other work?
Yeah, mainly. I mean, I think that I've never stopped playing. I mean, I've always played and cover bands and thrown a few originals in and things like that. I mean, I've been in the same. I started my cover band in '91 and still have the name tattooed on my arm.
Nice.
So, but I think really, I wouldn't say I never stopped writing, but I would say that I stopped getting in the studio. I just didn't have the time to focus on it.
Right.
And I knew it's something that I wanted to do. And the other thing too, is I think that as I've gone through the last, literally 17 years of working in the music business, on the business side, I've developed all these really good relationships that I didn't have, 10, 15 years ago.
Right.
And with those relationships, I figured, this is the time that I need to make this happen. And, so there's a gap there, but it isn't from the lack of wanting to do it. It was just a fact of, maybe not the right time.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's, and like I say, this is an extraordinary single. I mean, it's just such a great song.
Thank you.
Ordinary Girl. I'll post the video and people will watch it. It's now Jody just sent me an email telling me that you're donating 20% of the single sales to AFSP, American Foundation for Suicide Prevention, which is just, that's a special thing. And the theme of the song, for anybody who hasn't heard it yet, they need to hear it. But it's pretty much a story lyrically about a girl who feels ordinary, unimportant, and as the song progresses, she finds her self-worth, and it's really a triumphant kind of thing. That story is fantastic. The
Thank
message
you.
is so important. What's your connection? What was the inspiration? Without getting too heavy or personal.
Yeah, I mean, this was based on a true story, and I knew somebody that had, um, she was going through a very challenging time, and I know she was despondent, and the song really tells a story. I mean, she was surrounded by support and love, and at the end of the day, decided that she wasn't ordinary, and was going to stick around. And the unfortunate part, and this is also what kind of drove me to try to get this song done. The unfortunate part is this story doesn't end well most of the time, or a lot of the time. And last year, almost a year to the day, a couple of days ago, we lost a friend and an employee at one of my music venues to suicide, and she was only like 28 years old. It was absolutely devastating. Nobody saw it coming, and just literally a week or two before that, I'd had a couple of really deep conversations with her, really got to know her. Such a cool young lady, and it was devastating. And it just, everything's just come together to make that song happen, and to maybe bring awareness that we as humans sometimes may not realize that somebody is going through these difficult time periods, and it's almost on us to be more aware and look for things that you might not otherwise notice if that person is suffering. And so I really want to try to use the song as a way to promote suicide awareness, and let people know that there are organizations out there that will help, and that there are always hands outstretched and willing to help in these situations.
Yeah, and like I say, that is such an important message. It is really, it's an issue that I think all of us have seen. We all know.
Absolutely, touches everybody.
Yeah, it really does. It really does. And yeah, I first heard the song and I thought, wow, this is such a great song.
Thanks,
And
man.
then I actually thought about the message, and that's just pushes it over the top. It's just so special. It's really,
Well,
really
in the
incredible.
heart of that, it definitely, it's an important thing close to my heart.
Yeah, yeah. And it's great to see it out there, and it's great to have that message. Very positive, a negative issue, but a really great story in that song, and a positive message ultimately.
Yeah, I mean, I think everybody has a chance if they are surrounded by people who
Yeah,
will provide them support.
yeah, and just to reach out. I think a lot of people are afraid to reach out. Afraid of rejection, or not getting the help they need. So
Exactly what it is.
yeah, yeah.
Yep.
Great song, and I thank you for it for sure, and a lot of other people do too as well, I'm sure. um I told a few people that I was talking to you today, and I told them the Zach Bair Band and the song and how important it was. And of course, the first question whenever you're talking about a band or music is, what do they sound like? So I said, the first thing that came to my mind was like Gin Blossoms.
Okay, cool. I like them.
Yeah, great band. That kind of thing, Matchbox 20, maybe Train, in that um, pure American bar band kind of,
Straight ahead rock. I mean, we're
Okay, yeah, that's my question to you is,
yeah,
how would you describe yourself?
probably a cross between, like, when you hear the new EP come out, you're going to say, "Wow!" I mean, this, because it goes through several different um, uh, subgenres, I guess, if you want to say that. But we're in between Foo Fighters and Matchbox for sure, Gin Blossoms, all those bands. We get a little bit heavier sometimes, but it's all, every song really, except maybe one, is all upbeat and positive type of music. And I'm really proud of the EP. I'll send you a link so you can hear that before it
You
comes
know,
out.
I got an email right before we came on from Jody, and I think she may have sent me the link. Yeah, and I'm thinking, all right, I got 15 minutes. Can I preview that real fast and ask you a few things about it? But I couldn't. So, yeah, I'm excited to hear it.
Awesome.
Definitely, and I'll make sure to tell people about it for sure.
Very cool.
And especially Ordinary Girl. Like I say, that's just so important for
Thank you.
people,
Thank you so much, man. It means a lot.
absolutely. Now you've been involved with music from just about every angle. You're still developing technology.
Absolutely.
Do you plan on devoting a little more time to your recording now? Your writing and
Yeah.
recording.
So the good thing is, I mean, that I say good, but it's not good, but it's good in a way that touring is probably not going to start back up until next year, at least the springtime. So that's given me time to really focus on the company development in terms of technology development, things like that. But obviously, I have a lot more downtime for music too.
Mm-hmm.
So absolutely, I'm going to be continuing to take advantage of that. The people who know me, I've had questions before like, well, you're the CEO of this company. How do you have time to do this? And I'm like, well, I go 18, 20 hours a day. I mean, it's nonstop. I've always been a multitasker. I don't know if it's probably ADHD at one point in time. Who knows? Or ADD back in our day, um, but it's just what I do. I mean, I go full tilt on everything that I'm passionate about, and I've always had a unique ability to run in parallel with several things going on. I mean, back in Houston, my Houston days, it was playing in my band down there, cover band, 5 nights a week, getting up, going to work at 7 o'clock in the morning, then getting off work, and then going to do consulting on the side before I go to my band gig again. And it's really the same thing. I haven't slowed down at all, and the music technology stuff is my passion because it's a way that I can help musicians get revenue and have control over their career, basically. And then the music for me, it's either that or I would be on a psychiatrist's couch, quite honestly. It's my outlet, but I take it really seriously, and I'm absolutely, the good thing about my job is that I can do it on a tour bus. I have a laptop, I can do it from anywhere.
Yeah, and that is the technology today is just amazing, and it affords so many opportunities to everybody.
It's wonderful.
Like yourself. Yeah, it really is. I'm excited to see what you come up with. I'm really, really excited. I love Rutherford Drive as well. And what you've done is just really great.
Thank you.
So yeah, keep writing, keep recording.
Oh, you know it, man. No, you're in Chicago?
Yeah, right around Chicago, about 30 miles west of Chicago.
Awesome, very cool.
Yeah. So yeah, please come on through once we get going. And
absolutely.
Yeah, it'll be a lot of fun. So, well, I'll let you go.
Cool about the REO disc, man. I'm still tripping about that.
Yeah, man. You were at that show.
At the show, yeah.
Now, when you were at that show, were you just watching, letting your people do their thing, or were you actually twisting knobs, sliding?
No, what I'll do typically is, I've got an engineer and a crew that does the groundwork, but technically I'm the producer, so I'm going to put the ears on and make sure that everything's sounding like the way I feel like it needs to sound.
Yeah.
And so, I'll work with my engineer, I'll work with the band's front of house engineer, work with the band and the manager to dial in the best rendition of what that band would sound like live. And then we put what's called like the DiscLive sound on it, where if a lot of live recordings you hear, it just doesn't sound live, but our recordings tend to sound really live. and that's
I
what we're
mean,
doing.
it's really something. I mean, it's one of the best live records I have. Really,
That's awesome, man.
I mean, it really is.
That's
It's
huge.
I know what you mean when you say that, because it's in the mix. I think you
Totally.
get where you get that live album that's just a lot of crowd.
Yeah, yeah,
They want to force it down your throat that it's live,
yeah,
or you get the live record kind of like Rush, where it's the band and then there's this low hum of crowd.
yeah, yeah.
This was just very, I could almost hear voices, but they weren't louder than the band.
Yeah, that's what we're going for.
And
You
that
know,
the mix was just
now, we
crazy.
did 110 shows with Peter Frampton, and that's probably one of my proudest gigs. But we would put not just crowd mics in the front; we would put 6 crowd mics across the entire room, so we could accurately really get a good sound. Of course, he's a audiophile as well, and those recordings came out really good.
Man, man. And the setup on something like that, when you're saying you're putting out all those mics and setting up, and I mean, you have to key into the board, with your own technology. The setup for something like that has to be amazing work, a lot of
Yeah,
work.
it's pretty cool, but we've got it, excuse me, over the years, we've gotten it down to the gear has gotten smaller and easily transportable.
Right.
So it's gotten better. It's not like it used to be. It's still a lot of work,
Yeah.
but with our crew, we generally send anywhere from 2 to 4 people out, depending upon if it's digital or a physical thing. Um, but they've got it down to an art form, and 9 times out of 10 they'll actually even end up helping the band crew. So it's like one big family.
Yeah, and that doesn't surprise me. I've seen a lot of crews, been around a lot of crews, and
Yep.
they're always willing to help. It's
Yeah.
pretty great,
Yeah.
pretty
Yeah.
great. Yeah, what about venues? Do you approach the venue, or just the artist when you're doing something like that?
Well, so it's always going to be, at the end of the day, it's always going to be the artist that provides the permission. Even if they're on a label, you got to get the artist to say they want to do it.
Right.
We have had some partnerships with venues before, but I think really, like, eventually what we want to go for is partnerships with promoters, because they're the front line, they're the talent buyers, they have the ability to offer this service as they're booking the band. But we've done some deals with venues before. It's one of the most interesting prospects is when Vegas cranks back up again, because it's a transient crowd. We can come in there and install our stuff, and then crank out souvenirs for people on a nightly basis. So yeah, there's a lot of merit in that.
Yeah, I mean, it's like I say, I can't believe that it's not at every show, because
It should be.
it should be for sure. I mean, because I'm disappointed now. I really, I want to go to the show, and I'm like, why? I wish that was available. Uh, it's just.
Well, there's some really just classic ones that like we did Slash and his band.
Mhm.
And this is back in 2011, I think, and I can't believe it's been that long. But we got Slash singing and playing with Lemmy on stage, which was amazing,
Yep.
And we did Devo in Australia a few years ago, and probably some of the last performances with all 4 original members before Bob passed away.
Yeah.
So just some cool stuff.
Yeah, yeah, and stuff like that doesn't happen all the time, and
Uh,
to have a recording of it is special,
yeah,
definitely.
it is. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I wish you best of luck. I hope you get it in every show, that kind of thing, and the fairness for the artist with Soundster is really a great thing.
We're going to push that. We hope that's going to be the big one.
Yeah.
We want to change the industry for the better.
Yeah, yeah, and then I know at least a lot of veterans, the kids today coming up, they're all good.
Yeah.
It doesn't seem
Yeah.
to be phasing them as much, but I know a lot of veteran artists where they're struggling. They want something from Spotify.
Yeah.
the
Oh,
neighborhood.
it's terrible.
Yeah,
Spotify. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, the streaming thing is so much different. It's a whole different ball of wax, and the veteran artists are having a little more trouble.
Oh, yeah.
So
Yeah.
that
And I know quite
that's
a
what
few
gets
of them.
played. And
Yeah.
that's what gets played in a lot of the venues. And a lot of businesses.
Exactly right. So, and a perfect point is if you take Mustang Sally, which is played by every cover band in this country,
Yeah.
on a given night of the week, you know that the songwriters are not getting paid for that,
Nope.
because they're not in that top tier of artists that are touring or are charting, you
Right.
know, totally unfair.
Yeah.
And we want to fix that.
Yeah. Well, I wish you the best of luck, and the artists appreciate you for sure. I know they do, and please, if you're anywhere near the Chicagoland area, ring me up.
Absolutely, man. I sure will, Rod.
All right,
Awesome.
Zach, take care. I hope to talk to you soon, and we'll promote your next thing.
Thank you so much, man. I really appreciate it. Let me know what you think about that record when you hear it.
Absolutely, absolutely. I get back to you definitely, and again, thank you for the song.
Absolutely.
The world needs
Absolutely. My
it.
pleasure.
It's a special thing. So,
Thank you so much.
all
My
right,
pleasure, man.
all right. Take care. Thanks a lot.
Cheers, man. Rock on.
All right.